Next, small chapter, Selenium test process. Selenium test process. See, before this, brief introduction. Software test process. I think all of you familiar with that one. Software test process. Next, UFT test process. What are the important phases in software test process? Gagan, what are the important phases in software test process? Or manual test process?
Yeah, analyzing requirements.
Analyzing requirements. Analyzing requirements is not phase, that is task. See, otherwise you can say this one, software test process or STLC. Can you tell me, Kamal, what are the phases in software test process? Manual process, or you can say software test life cycle.
Test design.
Can we start from test planning?
First planning, yes.
Yeah, test planning, test design, test data.
Planning, next test design, next test
execution.
Next
Defect logging.
test closure. See, as per IEEE 5 phases, test planning, test design, test execution. Next, fourth one, evaluating exit criteria. Fifth one, test closure. But most of the companies using this 4. Test closure, evaluating exit criteria also part of test closure. After evaluating exit criteria only, we can go for test closure. Okay, EFT test process. Gagan, have any idea on EFT tool? Kamal having idea, Aarti having idea. What about you, Gagan?
Not much idea, sir.
Don't have that knowledge on EFT tool? Okay. Aarti, tell me, EFT test process. I think you attended EFT training also.
Analyzing the
test phases of EFT test. Planning. Next, continue, Kamal, Muhammad Kamal.
Test script development.
See, the test design phase divided into 2 phases in this UFT test process. Okay. Generating basic tests. Next, enhancing tests. Next, running and debugging tests. Next, analyzing test results. Next, reporting defects. Okay, na? Now come to this one, Selenium test process. Here also first phase, see, phase 1, test planning, phase 1 planning. Can you guess what are the important tasks in this planning phase? Arti?
Configure and then generate the basic test.
Here generating test or planning. Generating test another phase. Kamal, contribute. What is the initial task?
Getting the requirement.
Getting the requirement. That is
We are basically planning what are in scope, out scope items or something.
Okay. Say initial task in test planning phase of automation test process. Say get environment details. What environment? Application environment. Application under test. Get application. Just a minute. Get application environment details from development team. Why application environment details? First we have to analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. And one more thing, for database testing, database information also required. Here important application environment details, UI, user interface design technology, user interface design, and database information. Suppose if it is UFT tool, we have to select appropriate add-in based on application environment. In this Selenium, no add-ins. Getting this point, Kamal? Any add-ins required?
No.
No add-ins required. It supports all types of web-based applications. Okay. Next, analyze the AUT. Analyze the AUT. Yeah, analyze the application under test in terms of UI elements, identification. Suppose if it is UFT tool, you can use record and playback feature or object spy or view options in object repository. Here how to analyze the AUT? Guess, Arti?
No idea.
Just a minute. In disadvantage of Selenium, we forgot one more thing. What is that? It doesn't support desktop applications. Only web-based applications. It doesn't support desktop applications, or you can say desktop or Windows based applications, only web based applications. Tell me Gagan, come to mainstream. How to analyze the AUT in terms of UI elements identification. Suppose first I need to check all UI elements are identifying or not. See, Selenium is object based test tool. Not only Selenium, you take any functional and regression test tool. All functional and regression test tools are object based tools only. Based on front end objects only, they perform test operations. Suppose performance test tools, load runner interactions depends on server using protocols, HTTP, HTTPS, JDBC, ODBC. Load runner is protocol based tool. UFT is object based tool. Selenium is object based tool. Here object identification is very, very important. See, major challenge in functional test automation, object identification. If tool recognizes all of our application front-end objects, then automation is simple. Using programmatic features, we can automate. Gagan, guess how to identify based on your first chapter knowledge, based on your first.
With the help of Firebug, we can.
Yes. Yes. Say first one, using Selenium IDE recording feature, intermediate usage, or using Firebug. It is a Firefox add-on, Firebug. You can inspect elements. It can be used to inspect UI, user interface elements. Okay now? Tell me Aarti, how to analyze the UI elements, how to analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. What are the possibilities in Selenium?
Using IDE recording feature.
Using Selenium IDE recording feature.
Or using Firebug.
Firebug. Firebug is extension add-on of Mozilla browser add-on.
Inspect.
It can be used to inspect UI elements. Okay. See, analyzing over. Tool is recognizing. Next, select test cases for automation. It is in every tool. Select test cases for automation. Yesterday also, I have given brief idea about this. Tell me Gagan, see in this area no restrictions, no limitations, but three common areas are there in the industry. What are the three common areas for automation, but no restrictions, no limitations?
First, we need to create some test cases on for sanity tests.
Sanity tests. See, first one, tests that we have to execute on every build, every software build. sanity tests. See, multiple times execution na automation is better. If it is manual testing, every time your user interaction is required. Next,
for modify build, we need regression
tests. Tests that we have to execute on every modified build. Type of tests, regression tests. Next, one more area.
And also data.
Good. Data
Driven test.
Data driven tests. See, tests that we have to execute using multiple sets of test data. Test data. See, data driven tests. Data driven tests. Next, select framework. For example, framework, automation framework. It is a systematic approach to automate software test process. Without automation framework also we can create and execute tests. It is optional but important. It is a systematic approach to automate software test process. Without automation framework also we can create and execute tests. Suppose we selected TestNG. Select automation select framework and configure. See, these are the important activities, important tasks in this planning phase of Selenium test process. Just tell me, Aarti, headlines, 4 important tasks we discussed. What are the 4 important tasks?
Get application environment details. Get analyze the AUT in terms of UI elements.
UI elements identification.
Select test cases for automation. And select the framework like a test engine and configure.
Okay. See, next one, generating basic tests. Phase 2. Generating footnote basic tests. Say, generating tests I divided into 2 phases, generating basic tests and third one enhancing tests. Generating basic tests means creating plain navigation. Enhancing tests means inserting verification points, adding comments, error handling, etc. as per test requirements. Actually these both are combined, but understanding point of view, I divided this generating tests into 2 phases: generating basic tests and enhancing tests. Next phase, enhancing tests. Okay, generating basic tests means creating plain navigation. Enhancing tests means inserting verification points, parameterization, synchronization, adding comments, error handling, etc. as per test requirements. Okay. Say suppose UFT, formerly QTP. In UFT, how to generate tests? We have 2 types of test design in UFT. One is object repository based test design. Another is without repository, that is descriptive programming. Again, in object repository based test design, we have two methods. One is recording, another is without recording, keyword driven methodology. Observe just comparison. In UFT, next in Selenium. In UFT, we have two methods for designing tests in high level orientation. What are the two methods? Can you tell me, Kamal?
One is repository based, one is descriptive.
One is object repository based test design. In this, again, two methods, two sub methods. One is recording, another is without recording. You can type tests using shared object repositories. The term is called keyword driven methodology. Next, another method, descriptive programming. Descriptive programming. Again, descriptive programming, two types. Static programming, dynamic programming. And one more thing, UFT supports hybrid approach also. Means some tests using object repository, some remaining tests using descriptive programming. Okay, this is about UFT test design. When it comes to Selenium, Kamal, tell me, in Selenium, how to design, how to generate basic tests. You consider whole Selenium suite. Wherever possibility is there, you just identify that possibility. Consider whole Selenium suite. Aarti,
Same thing, maybe recording.
Okay. See, one is using a recording feature. Playback is execution. Using a recording feature in Selenium IDE. See, in WebDriver, no IDE, no recording feature. Everything is program. You need to type commands, statements, no IDE. Using a recording feature in Selenium IDE, not only recording, you can type statements by providing element identifiers. Suppose link name or ID or XPath you can use. See, that we will discuss in next practical chapter, the next week. See, type test scripts without recording in IDE only. Type test scripts using UI elements, identifiers and Selenium commands. Next, any other suppose we are not using Selenium IDE. That time you cannot use this recording feature, and you can't type tests in UI tests in Selenium IDE. Tell me, Kamal, suppose we are not using Selenium IDE, then no use of recording, no recording concept, then how to create tests?
Then we have
Otherwise you can say locators.
use programming code.
Programming code, where?
In Eclipse.
Eclipse. Eclipse is just IDE. It is only for, it is editor. It is editor to write and execute Java programs and other language programs also. Okay. Say another method. Write means type test scripts using UI, user interface element locators. How to get element locators? Using Firebug and Firepath you can get. That we will discuss in practical chapter. Now only theoretical approach. Write test scripts using UI element locators in Selenium RC. This is one of the possibility. Next, this is outdated. Outdated. Next, same. Write test scripts using UI element locators in Selenium WebDriver. WebDriver interface. Okay na, Gagan? These are the maximum possibilities. Generally, you try to use third one. Write test scripts, type test scripts using UI element locators and commands. Tell me, Gagan, how to generate basic tests in Selenium? What are the possibilities?
In Selenium IDE, due to via recording,
Recording
and type the script using element locators
and Selenium commands.
Yes.
Next.
And in RC, we can use the
You can write
test script scripts using Firebug inspector elements.
No. Firebug and Firepath only for inspecting and getting locators. Here UI locators important. Firebug, don't confuse. Firebug and Firepath only getting that locators information, elements information.
Yeah, based on that element information, we can create test scripts.
Yes. Okay. Next, in RC and in same way in WebDriver also. But Selenium RC, remote control nowadays outdated. So you try to use WebDriver interface. Okay, these are the maximum possibilities. And here one drawback is there. In Selenium, no object repository. Got the point, Kamal?
Yes, sir.
In Selenium, no object repository. No object repository. So, no centralized maintenance of objects. If any modifications are there in future in object information, you need to open each and every affected test and modify. No centralized maintenance. No centralized maintenance of objects or elements. One drawback in this area. Okay. Next, phase 3. Enhancing tests. Say for enhancing tests, you can insert verification points. You can insert verification points using Java programmatic statements. Example, conditional statements. See, insert verification points. Next, add comments. Comments optional but standard. Best practice. Next, parameterization if required. Suppose if you want to use multiple sets of test data, then parameterize. Next, synchronization. Do you have any idea, Gagan, what is synchronization? Arti, what is synchronization? In UFT also synchronization concept is there.
I think we're going to sync
I forgot.
few test something.
Pardon?
We are going to like sync multiple tests.
Multiple tests. No. Here synchronizing Selenium and AUT. Application under test. Not multiple tests. That is different. Kamal, can you tell me what is synchronization?
It's a process of matching the speed of two things.
Two things. Here, what are the two things in our scenario?
Selenium and AUT.
Application under test. Say synchronization not mandatory for every test. Only for some tests. When it is required. Say, suppose AUT, application under test, taking more time for some operations execution, some steps execution, that time synchronization required. Here in Selenium, two types of synchronization is there. Conditional synchronization, unconditional synchronization. You just identify the points. In a practical chapter, I will explain each and everything. Next, working with files. Next, important thing, error handling, etc. Next phase, running and debugging tests. say running tests or executing tests, two types. Single test run and batch testing. Single test run and batch testing. Here, using TestNG or JUnit frameworks, you can conduct batch testing, executing series of tests. See, using JUnit or anyone TestNG frameworks, we can execute test batches. Next, debugging. What is debugging, Gagan? Have any idea? Say running tests mandatory for every test. Debugging tests optional. What is debugging?
If there are any error or something into the code, or we need to find out, so that is scenario is debugging.
Suppose if there is any error, it will show error na. Then you can easily identify now why debugging. Okay, observe. Debugging also important. The important tasks. Important task. Debugging test is important task in test automation. When debugging is required, that I will explain. First one, what is debugging? Locating and isolating errors. Locating and isolating errors through step-by-step execution. Okay, debugging is not required for all tests. See, debugging is not required. Debugging is not required for all tests, only for some tests. Can you tell me, Kamal, when debugging is required? Observe, I will explain three scenarios, then identify. First scenario, test is not showing any errors and providing correct output. In this scenario, debugging is required or not? Test is not showing any errors.
Required.
Not required. Test is not showing any errors and providing correct output. No debugging is required. Next, second scenario, test is showing errors. In this scenario also debugging optional. If test shows errors, definitely you can't get correct output. First you correct the errors, first you rectify the errors, then most of the time you can get correct output. Otherwise you can think about debugging. In the second scenario also debugging not mandatory. Third scenario, typical scenario, test is not showing any errors and not providing correct output. Not showing any errors and not providing correct output. In this scenario, debugging is required or not?
Is required, sir.
Required. When this type of situation occurs, see, for example, at one point of time, I have to use X equal to A plus B. As per our test requirement, this is the desired formula, but mistakenly I used another, instead of Instead of addition operator, I used multiplication operator. See, programming point of view, it is not error, but our test requirement point of view, it is error. It is human error. See, in order to locate this type of errors, debugging is required. See, when debugging is required, see, whenever test is not showing any errors and not providing correct output, there debugging is required. Okay, how to debug, that we will discuss in practical chapter. See, running and debugging tests. Next, what is the fifth phase we listed? In Selenium test process, analyzing test result, analyzing test result. Okay. Observe Gagan, analyzing test result. Is it a tool responsibility or tester means user responsibility?
Yeah, it's user responsibility.
User responsibility. Running test. Running test is a tester responsibility or tool responsibility?
Yes, test responsibility.
Tester responsibility. See, without user interaction also you can execute series of tests, isn't it? Who execute tests? Tool or user? Tool. Who analyzes test result? User. Okay, here just one general topic. In functional test automation, we have 4 types of result status. See, status of test result in functional test automation. Status of test result in functional test automation. You take any tool, UFT or Selenium or RFT. These are common automation. One is pass status. When we get pass status, Kamal, pass status.
When test executes without any error.
Without any error. When we get pass status, what is the criteria? Arti.
When desired result meet actual result.
Desired result is not correct term. Expected result, actual result. 2 terms here.
Actual result.
See, if expected result equal to actual result, then you can get pass status. Next, fail, opposite. If expected not equal to actual, not equal to actual, then fail status. Next, one more status also there. done status. Tell me, Aarti, when we get done status?
When the expected result, and I mean there is no error or anything, then is it done?
Suppose if any expected result is there, then pass or fail are the only criterias. If expected is there, definitely actual, isn't it?
Yes.
See, done means here no expected or no actual results. Test executed without errors. When we use done status, suppose there is no verification point in our test. There is no verification point in our test. Then done. Say testing means verification compulsory. See, without verifications, why we prepare tests? For some time, we prepare without verification points also. Can you tell me one scenario, Kamal? Test execution without errors. No verification points. Can you tell me, Aarti, one scenario for done status?
I think the smoke test, I think like a smoke test, when you want to do something basic test, you don't need any other verification maybe.
In a smoke test also verification. Suppose I want to test login functionality. After login only you can test remaining features. Suppose if login is not working, you can reject that build. For login also verification is there na?
Yeah, yes sir.
For every smoke or sanity tests, verification compulsory. Otherwise, how can you confirm whether the build is acceptable or not? Okay, say you remember measuring test transaction times. Sometimes we measure test transaction times. How much time the test is taking for, taking for execution. That time, pass or fail is not the criteria. Only criteria is measuring transaction time. Time also 20 seconds or 30 seconds or 10 seconds it is not the matter. Only measuring. Getting the point?
Yeah, yes sir.
Whenever you measure test transaction time, no verification points. Next, one more status of test result. Warning. Gagan, tell me, when we get warning status, when we choose this status, what is the criteria for warning status? Suppose our scripting logic is correct. We are fetching data from a database. The database not responding, or database having no records. See, interruption during test execution. Now just to list out the status of result, Kamal, we have 4 types of status of test result in functional and regression test automation. What are the 4 types of status? Just names enough.
Status pass. If expected result.
Okay. Description not required. Description not required.
Fail.
Pass, fail.
Okay. Pass, fail, done, and warning.
Done and warning. Okay. Next, one more. Okay, analyzing results based on expected and actual. Here some more concepts also there. Define, put mute, define test result, define test result. See, for example, you take Selenium IDE, it doesn't provide detailed test report for every test. It provides summary only. Next, Selenium RC. Selenium RC having built-in test report generator, but that is outdated. Next, Selenium WebDriver. It doesn't have any built-in test report generator. See, WebDriver doesn't have built-in test report generator. What about EFT? Kamal, EFT having a test report generator or not? In EFT
Yes,
result,
it does.
result window is there now for EFT provides test result for every test iteration now.
Yes.
But WebDriver doesn't have any built-in test report generator. Then how to define test results? Using programmatic statements. See, using programmatic statements, we can generate all these are before execution only. All these are before execution. After execution only analyzing the result. After execution only analyzing the result. All these things before test run or test execution only. Okay, using programmatic statements we can generate test results. And one more thing, are using TestNG or JUnit, we can generate test reports. See, TestNG has built-in HTML and XML report generators. See, this is a brief introduction about analyzing test results. Analyzing test results depends on expected and actual result. Next, last one, last phase. Reporting defects. Tell me again, is it user responsibility or tool responsibility, reporting defects? See, in Selenium, no integration with other tools for defect management or test management.
So it's user responsibility?
User responsibility only. Okay. Say, after analyzing the test result, you send defect reports using any tool or manual. Say, here two possibilities, observe. See, based on your company environment you can follow. See, functional test automation, versus defect management. Suppose for functional test automation, our company using Selenium tool. Defect management manual using Excel sheet, etc. No tool. No tool support. Then what is the defect reporting process? After analyzing the test result in Selenium, open your company prescribed format, enter defect details and send using your company internal mailing system. This is one type of environment. After analyzing the test result in Selenium, open your company prescribed format, Excel or any document, enter defect details and send. Next, another one. For functional test automation, our company using Selenium tool. For defect management, our company using Bugzilla or Jira or any other tool. After analyzing the test result in Selenium, launch defect management tool. Every tool provides their own template. Open defect report template, enter defect details and send. If it is UFT, third possibility also there, integration with UFT with ALM. Here no such type of integration, only these two possibilities. Here you can use any tool, Bugzilla or Jira or any tool. See, this is a brief introduction about Selenium test